think today what we're going to talk about is just the state of what we're seeing right now in the world, and what we're seeing within organizations, and what the implications are for how we systematically address waste and cost reduction, as it's salient and top of mind for many organizations. Who better equipped from a skill set perspective than us to do that and lead the charge? Our ability to pull these levers fast is critical. We've got to find real, balance sheet impact. We've got to prove it these days to get funding, to get CapEx, to, show private equity we're making strides, to show our VC funds, to show our shareholders. It's real, it's tangible now. In terms of where the levers are at, they tend to be associated with lots of activity, but low ROI. So how do you find those pockets? And so we'll show some tools, some techniques to isolate those. We've looked at our past 50 organizations we've supported. We've looked at and we've captured about 11,000 pain points that we've aggregated, and we're going to show today to show some trends about what organizations are struggling with, some of which you might see in your own organization. But looking at and listening to organizations and finding out what hurts is one piece of it. Bottom up, top down, there's some strategies, some techniques, some technologies that can help us migrate those and find where those pockets or those levers are using some more advanced technologies and analysis. So again, we've looked at about the previous 11,000 pain points that we've captured from a number of organizations, and we've looked at some trends. And we've got about 5 areas we want to zoom in on: indirect procurement, supply chain, the back office or shared services, organizational design, and broader enterprise effectiveness, PMO, BPI, et cetera, that we want to talk about and show some specific examples. And then finally, talking about the importance of great business cases and how that's supporting organizations, and us still seeing challenges with that level of maturity in a lot of organizations, as well as the magnitude of parallel enterprise initiatives that are going on, likely in your organization, that may be not connected or may be duplicative. So we'll talk a bit about these pieces and move right into it today. So in terms of what we're seeing, I don't have to go through a lot of this. You're probably seeing it in your organizations already, but whether it's certain commodities, part shortages, consumer pricing, consumer confidence, U.S. benchmark interest rates around mortgage loans, et cetera, the cost of debt, especially for those organizations that are private equity owned or have some type of ownership from VC or what have you, the cost to service debt certainly is increasing. There's this tender balance between your covenants, how much assets you can have, asset turnover, what you've got in inventory right now versus what you're able to bring in from out of stock on the retail side, and the bullwhip effect of some of the COVID latent implications. And so when you couple that with just broad wage increases across the board, you've got lots of supply chain and transport issues still around costs. Some adjacent technologies that are beginning but maybe aren't quite paying dividends yet, or have strong return on investment at this point, and just global socioeconomic issues, e-commerce increases, reduction in physical footprint on things, and all the labor challenges. I mean, we've got a pretty complex scenario right now where organizations are feeling the burn around cost management. And so, how do we get better and faster at isolating where those are at in organizations and then taking them out systematically? Those that are doing a great job, that can do it quickly, have the advantage right now. And so we'll share what that looks like and what some of those trends are within organizations. So in terms of what we're going after, I know you're not designed to look at every individual bullet here, and Scott's referenced this many times, but the shareholder value or enterprise value map that Deloitte put together around what levers we've got in organizations is here. And so whether it's revenue growth, driving profitability, getting our assets to turn over more quickly, or managing client or shareholder expectations, there are hundreds of levers below those that we can pull and draw upon that mean different things. And that's the point. That's what we've got to get really good at. Now, how do we actually, make that real? Well, starting point's just getting an enterprise process map and learning to see waste and learning. This is sort of level 3 business processes at a higher level right before that swim lane, more detailed level. And if you imagine those 11,000 pain points or so that we've seen within organizations, if you were to draw a heat map of where they occur in a lot of organizations, the average organization, this is what some of that looks like. So if you think about our ability to dive into whether it's accounts payable and accounts receivable or fixed month-end close and get that from 5 days to 2 days, there's all these levers that we can pull to impact some of these, whether it's profitability, whether it's price recovery on margin or what have you. Getting a sense of the pockets of non-value added time in organizations that have levers to impact the P&L or balance sheet is what this is all about, and getting faster at being able to isolate where those are in discovery. Now, in terms of the problem-solving approach that we take, we start with initiation, and a lot of organizations do this already, even your internal continuous improvement organizations. We would move into implementation, start to sequence and launch these and actually take that cost or time out of the organization, and then transition into training and start to realize those benefits and then track those benefits. But this is our standard problem-solving approach. But where we want to focus today is really around establishing current state faster and more efficiently. So the methods to do that is we would have an enterprise process map of the population of the organization's processes focused on the interdepartmental handoffs. There's traditionally a lot of waste in those areas. We would isolate and talk to people and listen to people and go to where the work is happening, do our Gemba walks, and take those pain points and overlay those and categorize those onto where that's happening in the enterprise process map. That's sort of the bottom-up analysis. Listen, do Gemba, go and see. However, top-down, this is where a lot of techniques and technologies are happening to get better at this. Where are the pockets of opportunity? How can we look into the general ledger and isolate, as a percentage of revenue, some benchmarks and say, look, indirect procurement might be 5.6% higher than a traditional company would be of our size. So what are those levers to pull? So this is where top-down, bottom-up analysis occurs, right in that midpoint to isolate areas of remedy for us. And so that's our focus of today. So in terms of looking at the past and the bottom-up analysis, we've looked at the previous 50 organizations we've supported. It covers about 20 different sectors. And this is the spread of pain points of where those 11,000 pain points come. Some pain points are, I don't have proper training or SOPs to do my job. Some of it's, we have 50 different technologies that aren't linking up. This is where and how those are stratified by department or by industry type for people, process, technology, and strategy. So when you look at, let's say, the government sector right now, obviously the technology is a much significantly larger percentage of pain points because of some of the integration and legacy ERP systems they have and so forth. So we've been able to go back and just do a little bit of a retrospective of what we're seeing across 20 different industries and thousands of, what hurts in organizations to share that with you today. I'll just zoom in a little bit on what that means. This is the stratification or affinity groups of what the top 80% look like one level deeper. And so I think we were surprised a little bit to see on the people and process side, roles and responsibilities, capacity, people issues, and the lack of standardization to account for roughly 30% of some of the origination of where that pain is. Versus maybe some of the technology or some of the other elements. But this just gives you an overview of what a lot of organizations are feeling when you actually create master data based on that and the dispersion accordingly. So as we look at maybe some of the top 5 interventions that we're finding, levers to control and cut costs or find waste, some of that's connected to listening to what the organizations are actually feeling. So if we start to dive in a little bit more, this is actually an interesting visual of how these 4 people, process, strategy, technology, how they map to some of the level 2 affinity groups here. And I thought this was an interesting portrayal. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but just what organizations are feeling, at least at a high level.